Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence, appearing March 11th at the Waikiki Shell and March 12th at the Mac in Kahului. A huge thrill and honor to welcome the musical treasure that is Boz Scaggs. Aloha and the warmest mahalo, Boz.
Aloha, Dave. Thanks for the kind words.
I really appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you. You're kind to say so.
Is this the first visit you've made since the spring 2008 appearance?
Yes.
You are one of the people who, for decades, has had a place on the radio here. Certainly the radio landscape has changed dramatically in the last several years in Honolulu, but historically you've been a figure who's had a lot of airplay in the islands. And if you would not mind, can you run through your personal history with the islands, if you can try to take a moment and reflect on it in as much a chronological way as possible?
Well, let's say early 70s. I used to spend a fair amount of time, maybe 3 times a year, roughly, in Maui. I had a few friends from the mainland who I visited, and it was a different scene then. Obviously, Lahaina was just a little wide spot in the road, but notable nonetheless for a number of world travelers. And I remember more than one evening in the old Lahaina Yacht Club, sitting up overlooking the bay in Lahaina, and there was a lot of inspiration there for me. It was one of the most relaxing places I think I've ever been, and I don't know. There was a mood there, and there was a groove there that doesn't exist anywhere, and I kept coming back, and even through the time I was right up through the 70s, and then I had a young family at that time, and we came all through the 80s, and it's just always held a warm spot in my heart. And I got to know Maui pretty well, and then we migrated over to Kauai and sort of staked out some territory over there. And I proposed to my wife, my second wife, on the beach in Kauai, and I don't know. There's a lot of close personal memories of being in the islands, and it's just a part of me. And as it is now, it's growing to be a place that I gravitate to more and more. Several of my close associates and friends are living there or are moving to the islands, and I'm feeling a certain urge myself. Anyway, it's been a special place in my life, and I'm sure always will be.
So you, from that was a remarkable answer. From that answer, I'm deducting you don't own land out here, or have not yet.
No, I do not.
Okay, wow, but seriously mulling it over, and it doesn't surprise me that there are just so many artists who live on Maui in particular, but also here on Oahu and on Kauai. And so your earliest Hawaii memory, and when you talked about when you think of a song like Harbor Lights, and then the way you were just talking about your moment there in Lahaina, I don't know, they just seem to go together.
There's no question that they go together, and some of the imagery that I drew from that song really comes from those evenings that I think about overlooking the bay in Lahaina, the boats and the promise of the horizon were definitely enhanced. We're definitely a part of my vision of my time in the islands.
That's great. I'm glad that I've for decades, even before I ever moved here, I connected with that song. So now maybe I know why better. Is the drive to relocate here something that you think would take you to Maui, or have you considered where you would move if you came here?
I don't know. I have a number of musician friends who are in Maui, and the idea of being someplace where there might be a collaboration is, of course, interesting and stimulating. We, and I say we collectively, we love the islands for different things, for different reasons. Each has its own, its own power and its own sense of culture and place. So, in some ways, I think of the remoteness and the quietness and just the powerful beauty of the north part of Kauai, and other upcountry in Maui is powerful to me, and I don't know, it would certainly be nice to go visit all my places, and they even look at some new ones. I don't really even know the Big Island that well. I've only been a couple of times over there, but I have friends who I work with in California on my vineyard who work in the organic movement and on the Big Island, and I'm very much drawn to go see what those guys are up to. So, there's so much to see and explore. It'd be fun to search it out.
Well, and it's a couple things come to mind. One is when you talk about seeing and exploring, the part of Boz Scaggs' life, which is equally fascinating to me, is your early years. You went and traipsed around Europe and did what so many people do to get a perspective on their life and to figure out how they fit into the world. Was that a really formative thing? Has that impacted the way that you look at things?
Yes, it has, I think. When I sort of put it together, let's put it like this. Everybody, everybody knows what they were doing when they were 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. And it's a powerful time of life. It's a time when you leave your sort of home nest and you're leaving your adolescence and you're moving into your own private world. And a lot of, I think, the formative things that make someone up happen at that time. And I can't help but reflect, and I react automatically to situations and things in my life as a result of the travels that I had at that time. I was primarily in Europe, but I spent a year in Asia, in the Far East, in India, Nepal, Afghanistan, Iran, Nepal, and those memories and those impressions will always be with me, and I think they're a part of the way that I, form my decisions and the way that I react to the world in general.
No question. I mean, and it probably really has informed. You have these lyrics. There's something about the words that you have written, Boz, in different times in your career. They have a sort of cutting, timeless quality. When you think of a record like Silk Degrees in terms of your work and the satisfaction that it brings you, where does that fit into your mind today?
Well, I feel like that was a very lucky time for me. It also, I think that many artists in the course of their of their work, if you stay with it long enough and you are really devoted to or bound to, let's say, that life, sometimes the forces will come together for you. Sometimes the stars align for you.
They coalesce.
There's a coalition that happens, yes, exactly. And I was in the right place at the right time with some new musicians that I'd met, and our collaboration came out to be a very timely thing. It struck a nerve. It struck a wider audience than I'd ever seen. If it had been my first or second record, I don't think it would have been quite the same, but it was my, fifth or sixth record, and I'd been working a lot. So when that success came, when that wider audience came, I was really I was ready, and I had great musicians and professional help, and was able to really parlay that into a meaningful, a long-term career, one that I think has helped sustain me to this day. I feel, as a musician, as an artist, very, very fortunate to be doing the same thing now that I was doing when I was, 16 years old, essentially, that I'm able to be in music and make it my life. So Silk Degrees was pivotal, and it was a catalyst, and it was a big sort of reassurance that I belonged in the world, and I think it sustained me. People still enjoy the music. Some of those songs are still very close to me and resonate today as they did many years ago. I still enjoy playing them. People still like hearing them. And, I wish every artist that kind of success that I had with that one piece, and feel no matter what else happens, I really connected with that one, and,
There is no question. The mix is phenomenal. The songwriting is brilliant. The lyrics, over the top. There are so many different flavors, moods. I can't say enough about it. I would definitely call that among my very favorite albums of all time, and one of the greatest. Certainly one of the reasons that it is that is, to me, a song like, when I hear the song Lowdown, or when I think of it, it's not only a song with a monster mix and incredible musicians, but it's lyrically savvy in this sort of cynical, ego-deflating way that, to me, seems remarkably subtle.
That song was one of the has had the most interesting life as a song, as a piece of work to me. It was when I first met a collaborator who's become my most important and collaborator in my career. David Page was his name. He's a keyboard player, arranger who I just met before I made the Silk Degrees album, and David went on to form the band Toto.
Sure.
Has had an illustrious career in other areas. But at that time, it was suggested that we become writing partners. I mean, the producer said, "Well, why don't you and David take off and on your own and see what you come up with?" And we had really didn't know each other well. His father was a famous arranger, jazz and big bands in L.A. in the 50s and 60s, and had a cabin about 2 hours north of Los Angeles that he had a piano out in the country, where his father went to write and compose and arrange. So David suggested that he and I go up there for the weekend, get to know each other, sit at the piano, and see what we could work out. And we sat down, and over a course of the first evening that we met, and we worked into the night, we wrote Lowdown. And it proved to be, when we recorded it with the section, we knew we'd done something that had struck a nerve in all of us that at least satisfied us. It was at that time the farthest thing we could imagine that it would have become a mainline popular song, because at that time it was it was a stretch. It was a little bit radical and not mainstream. But I think in the hearts of the rhythm section and myself, it was the one that we sort of dug the most. And it really was not picked by the record company or anybody else as being a single. It was only after the album had been out for a year or so, and it started getting airplay on its own, mostly on black radio, on the soul radio stations around America, actually up in the Midwest, that it just started spreading like a slow wildfire, and it became a hit on the rhythm and blues charts and spread over into the so-called top 40 or mainstream radio playlists, and it just grew on its own, and we won a Grammy for the best rhythm and blues song of the year. And Paige and I would be the first to say that our influences had been much of our musical knowledge and our training had come from listening to R&B, the soul radio side of it, and for us to be recognized and for it to become the hit that it did was in itself probably the most satisfying honor that I've ever received in music. But as a song, I've played that song in more configurations in more situations than I can easily name.
That's so true.
I have been surprised on more than one occasion in places far and wide by being introduced to a public audience, and all of a sudden having the background band start playing Lowdown, and somebody pitching me a microphone, and it connected in a lot of places, and it's very versatile, and I still find meaning in the song, new meaning from time to time. It's a song that's had a lot of resonance with me, and I've lived that song.
Wow.
So that was written. That song was written to myself at one time, and it still rings to me over and over. But thanks for mentioning that. I like to talk about it. I don't think I've ever had the chance to really expand on that. It's
my pleasure, and you're quite welcome. It is one of those moments where you have achieved it. It's the kind of success people say, when you do a pop song, the real thing can be to get a pop song that has a lot of meaning inside of it, and like you said, that can be interpreted throughout your life in a lot of different ways and situations. And just whenever I encounter anyone who is too into themselves or too full of themselves, boy, girl, whomever, I don't know, the words just come into my mind. It's just like, come on back down to earth, son, and face the dirty lowdown that you're just another cockroach on the planet like the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of the message in that song.
It's brilliant, and it just, like I said, it's Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees really was a big part of my life.
Well, thanks, Dave. Nice that we can connect on this.
Well, it's my pleasure. And as a final note, because I know you have to run along down under and continue to entertain as you're doing there, would you be willing to be such a wonderful guy again sometime when we're doing our Hawaii Public Radio fundraising pledge drive and support us by just being a guest on the phone and encouraging other people to value public radio?
I'd be glad to. I support public radio in all of its forms across America, and I think it's a national treasure that we all should be a part of and support. So, yeah, you can count me in on that.
What a nice thing to say. I really do appreciate it. Well, that means a lot. And we offer, from me to you, a big mahalo to one of my personal musical heroes. It's March 11th at the Waikiki Shell, March 12th at the MAC in Kahului. And Boz, I hope you've enjoyed being my guest as much as I've enjoyed talking to you.
It's been a great pleasure, Dave. All the best to you, and mahalo to all your listeners.
Can't thank you enough. And again, I apologize for having gushed. It's just my whole life, man, you've been one of the soundtracks to it. It's like, it's unlike so many other artists. I'm sure it happens to you all the time, but just forgive me because it's such a huge thrill to get to talk to you.
I've got my own touchstones in that world too. I appreciate that I can be a part of yours. Dave, thanks for the call.
I'll talk to you when you're in town. I'll see you then.
Beautiful.
Aloha.
Okay. Aloha. Aloha. This is Boz Scaggs, and you're tuned to my friend Dave Lawrence